why don't we go ahead and get started? We have a few more people trickling in, which is great. So I'll start by saying welcome to the Artist Talk for Kato and Kuehnle, our new main gallery show. Most of you know me, Brian Jobe, I'm the director, and I'm really pleased to have me, Kato, and Jimmy Kuehnle here from Cleveland, Ohio. And not only that, debuting brand new work here in our main gallery. And so we're just going to talk today, casual like, and get to know them a bit. And I think it's maybe helpful just to kind of start with the past. You know, like what have you all done that's preceded this work? So maybe can you talk about where the new video fits in the context of your work?
Well, where new video fits? It does fit in terms of performance. The new video, is completely different from what I have done before. I work with photograph. I shoot myself acting different role of the people, trying to create a narrative in the illustration landscape that I drew. So the video is pretty new way of working. It's a new process for me. But in the video, I'm still performing in a way. And also I always make work something that I'm interested in, or something surround my life that affect my life. So this video is something that I lived for past 5 years, which is motherhood. It's something very new to me. I never had a kid before, and I did, and I'm just trying to figure out this new routine and then trying to become a mother. So the video is all about it. So yeah.
And inflatables are not new for you, Jimmy, but can you talk about this one, how it fits within the spectrum of your work?
Yeah, it's startling because I've been trying to run away from inflatables as hard as I can, but I guess you get stuck to them. The first inflatable I made was back in 2006 in San Antonio, Texas, and I've been making them ever since. This work is very similar to much of the inflatable work I done, site-specific, made from a model of the room, then figure out what could potentially fit there and not hit things that can't move, such as lights and doors and things, and then fill in the space with objects in geometry. Because inflatables can get very large. I've been infatuated with them ever since. Show up with something in a backpack as you get off a train, and then be bigger than the train, or inflate larger than the doors of a bar and be told to leave and say, well, I can't. And so doing things like that and exploring it with architecture is kind of what I do. So it's actually quite similar to.
Yeah, well, I think what feels really good about this show is really two things at once. I think for both of you, you think of your audience in a really intentional way. I feel like you put yourself in the shoes of the audience, and you think about from the outside in how it would feel to find the work. There's an anticipation with this sort of use of portraiture and yourself in the work maybe, and also just how that feels really universal. And Jimmy, with the audience that you're building the work to meet, to have that moment of encounter. So different ways of working for sure, but I think there is that sort of really audience conscious quality, and also that you've been together working on your practices for 25 years, give or take. So can you talk about those similarities or any of those things, and the doing it together part?
I mean, we live together. I think our process is so different, but it's kind of nice to live with the other artists because we can talk about it, and then he wants sugarcoat it. Like he would tell me if something wrong, or it's a very direct feedback. So I really trust his opinion, and that's really helpful, and that's really nice to live with artists. And I think we love something really funny and humor. I think that's what kind of like share between our work is like even something I'm working with, the comment of like back to about like women's status and all that, but I think my work is always carries the humor where becomes a window for the viewers to, come in. And then Jimmy's work, I think your work is funny, period. More than funny, but I think it's very important.
Thanks. We don't really collaborate at all, but we help each other out. I think the frankness. So we have known each other so long that way back in
We know each other from 1998.
1998, when I was an art major, one of my favorite things was to tell people not to be art majors, and when they asked me, and so one time you asked me,
and I consulted with him, like, should I be an art major?
and I said, no, that's a dumb idea. You shouldn't do that. And so that's why I always would tell people and yell at the tours on campus, like, so just be an instigator. And so that, I think, that humor and that contrarian nature stuck with us through our work. And so when I said we don't collaborate, that doesn't mean we don't work together. So we're constantly helping each other out, whether it's me back in the day before digital remote camera things, making a solenoid to push your film camera button down and then mailing it to you, and trying to figure out what size we needed to do, setting up lights and backgrounds, hauling. So she had this project that she did in New Mexico where she wanted to be sitting in a bunny costume on an old oil derrick, but right at sunrise, and only at sunrise. And she was shooting with a large format camera. Why we weren't using digital is because she wanted to do it this way, and a large format camera, and she wanted to stitch the images together so she could print them really big. And it had to be at a certain moment of the day, and large format cameras they're not like click, 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 click. They're like, okay, we got one, now let's do another one. And we had to go, we keep waking up every morning and going out there. All right, this is the 2 minutes, get the bunny suit on, all right, and then take it, and then we had like rocks that marked where the tripod, and we're like, then we come back, we're surrounded by cows. Yes. So we help each other with that, and then even just this project, which was, for my work is actually a quite small piece. And I was like, oh, I got this all done, this is fine. And then just the day before we drove to Tennessee, she was like, you want me to come up to the studio and help you? I was like, I got it, it's fine, you sure? And then I finally said, yeah, can you come? And so we were helping and working stuff, and we help each other out all the time. So she knew exactly what to do. And at the end you said, aren't you glad I came up?
Yes.
And I was, yes. And so
I'm good at tying the end.
So our work, we work with each other in that way a lot, constantly.
So I think you're talking about something that's very in the grooves, but I think you can feel it if you spend time in the gallery, the sort of way that both of the works live together. I think is sort of the fruit of this long conversation that you all have had. And full disclosure, we were all in grad school together at University of Texas, San Antonio, high-fiving each other, laughing, having lots of shows all at the same time, and I've been able to keep up. So I have a window into their work from the last 20 years, which is really nice. And it's great to see the new work. Maybe dig in a little bit more and talk about these particular pieces and anything you haven't yet said about the newest stuff.
Yeah.
So, how many people know the Twinkle Twinkle Little Star and the ABC song with the same melody? Does everybody know? Everybody know?
Yeah, definitely.
Really? Okay. I had no idea. I just found out about like 2-3 years ago. He didn't know too. We were like, whoa, it's the same melody. And we didn't know because we don't listen to these songs, right? But after my son came, it's everywhere. It's in his toy, it's on the TV program he watches, and it's even like in the sleep machine, and he hears it all the time, and it's in my head. And I started to like hum this melody doing like house chores. And I got interested in like, what is this Twinkle Twinkle Little Star? I'm from Japan, and it was a very famous song in Japanese version too. So I did a little research, and its actual melody is from France. It's I can't pronounce this word, pastoral songs, and nobody know who made it. And then the first lyric came in 1740 by the poet, and he's also the flute player, and it was a love song. You can pick this up and you can see all the original poem from that time. And it was a really sweet love song about this woman falling in love to this man. And the first nursery version was also from France, and it's still sung in French people, but the wording is like, the title was "Oh, Shall I Tell You, Mama?" And it's about the kids complaining to his mom that the dad won't give them a candy. So when I'm humming this, songs, and I'm going like want to put my hair, taking care of my son, I'm so like worked up, and I'm humming this song that kids are complaining to mama, and I was like, what is this? So it was very funny for me. So I wanted to make this song my version of it. So I decided to compose it with all the domestic sound that I can pick that I lived this past 5 years. I did not make any work since my son came. I stopped because I didn't have a time, but I was like overwhelmed with this motherhood. It wasn't really easy journey for me. I had him during the COVID. It was starting with isolation, and then I had a very severe postpartum depression, which he really helped me a lot. So, and then thinking about the original song, this is a love song. And the Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, when parents sing to their kids, it's an ultimate love song, right? So I really wanted to make this song with the sounds that relate to everyday life that we do, domestic life. So you can hear the video, you can see the video, and it's all the little bits of sounds that I pick and I compose it to the music.
Yeah, and it's she was very specific. I kept saying, you could just in Premiere or Audition, you could just slow that down and pitch change. She's like, no, I gotta. And so she was really looking at. You even bought a couple appliances that we didn't have because the tone was to hit the thing, because it's got to be that beep. I said, well, we could just.
I only
she's
bought
like,
a
I want to be
toaster.
authentic. I was like, yeah, well. Yeah,
I only bought a toaster.
Just a toaster. But so it was fun watching her move around the house and constantly finding like a camera and mic setup. Like we can't go there because everything is recording, and lots of blue tape in tripod positions. And, remembering. My work is the way I approach places is very specific to the location. Usually, the only thing that was missing from this work was an initial site visit. Usually, I go see the space and walk around. But this place has that cool 3D thing, so you can practically do that. And then made a quick model of the place. And I don't know if anybody knows perspective matching. So you can with 2-point perspective, if you took a picture of this and you could see those two walls, and well, I know people are about this tall, you could recreate this room probably within an inch or so with just one photograph, right? And so you could do this back in the old days of 3D modeling. I did all this in SketchUp and was really just fell in love, and I loved getting to a place, including this one. It's like, oh, I've lived here. I've been in this space in the computer for so long and seeing and manipulating pieces around. And even the lights, I didn't even ask Brian where the lights were, but I was like, well, there's a picture, so I can just, figure out where they were. And that's the game for me, is to model that out and then, okay, how can I make this piece fit? And usually they're so large that I'm trying to figure out, okay, a bolt of fabric is 59 inches wide. All right, how many lengths can I do to cover this span in an efficient way that still looks interesting, but I also don't want to do a lot of work. So how can I do it and then make it really big? And that's what I was doing with this piece, was trying to figure out how, because each of those are approximately a bolt of a fabric wide tube. A couple of them are different dimensions just for interest, and then how to make it fit inside the building. So it's exactly the height of the ceiling, and then makes a U around the lights. And speaking of lights, recently I've really gotten into thinking about lights in three-dimensional space and then scripting the way that a three-dimensional like sine wave or pattern or Perlin noise, if anyone does visual effects, Perlin noise or any noise function is like pi as a kind of a noise function. So instead of like this random, you can have it random. Is like what a noise function is. So it's a pseudo-random number, and you can make a lot of interesting patterns. Like most of the patterns and cool, trippy things you see are used with noise functions. And so doing that with lights and through 3 dimensions, this is a little bit small, so the lights are just kind of twinkling and sparkling, and it's really bright in there. But recently the work has been trying to figure out how to use an illuminated lightscape inside the inflatables. So that's kind of what this was about.
We normally have these talks in the gallery, so the noise of the fan pushed us in here, but it's definitely both experiential work. So when we're done, and if you're watching this on video later, you can go experience for yourself. But the inflatable invites you to go in and sort of elbow your way in and have a moment. But there's LEDs sort of, is it mostly in the top?
Yeah, mostly in the top. There's a column of LEDs in the middle. It's for this. It's the least important part of this particular iteration, but it's something that I find really interesting to use, especially and it probably looks really cool at night. And so I've always, here we're talking like. I'm an art professor and we're doing art at a gallery. It even has like foundation sponsorship. It's all like serious. But I really just like to like have fun, and we're all going to be dead. And I'm like, well, I might as well like, if I was really, what am I going to do for these next few seconds? I better like choose that is something I want to do. And I try to do that with artwork too. Like it's called Wiggle, Giggle, Jiggle, trying to make humor and kind of like existential questions, because if you really thought about that you were going to die, you wouldn't go to 7-Eleven, you wouldn't get up in the morning, you wouldn't do anything. So you can't think about that, but you can have fun and laugh and smile a little bit. So it's kind of a way of approaching it. And so I try to do that with the architecture. And a lot of the other projects, I've attacked the outside of buildings and really just put large structures. You just filled the room so you can't even be there, and try to make it absurd. Because existence is absurd, but don't dwell on it, have fun, and then at the same time try to do something that's intellectually and physically challenging to make the work in that way. And so, but it's supposed to be fun and bumped into, and not so reverent. And I really like things that people can see from the outside or experience if they're not in the gallery. So I used to perform a lot with large inflatables outside.
And in this case, I feel like the floor around the work is like a stage. You want people to step in and be the person.
Step in without tripping, right?
Yeah.
And we will keep it running. So, and the lights on for his. So if you drive by at night, definitely look over in this direction and see what you see. And Mimi's has 2 headsets, so you have to sort of jump in and experience it through the headset.
And then his work, depending on the time of the day, if the light come in, those bright fabric really light up, and then it just changed entire room to red. It is really pretty. So
color is fun. I remember when I got a job as a professor, and a painting professor asked me when I gave a public talk about my work, and they said, "How do you pick your colors?" I said, "Whatever ones are bright." And like they have a catalog, and those ones, the ones that are in the catalog, because those are the bright ones. And they're so disappointed in my answer. And I was like, what do you want? Like, it's bright. Like, have you seen these colors? Like, it's like the hot pink one. It's like I got red Crocs on. Like, let's have some colors. And so, but you're right. It's really fascinating. I always use these bright colors, but on the LED lights, they have a polarity wire that's red. And you can't see red if you're inside the inflatable. So I was trying, like you can look at, okay, there's 4 wires. well, I can't tell which one's the red one. So you have to kind of like put your hand to get just any reflected light that's not red. You know, your skin's pretty actually 100% red anyway, but you could kind of like see a shadow. And so it's really funny. Like you get this disorientation inside a sculpture, even around the outside. So if you're in the back corner, you can let your eyes adjust and you'll notice that you don't see red as much when you get out, because your eyes will try to adjust to the other side, which is kind of fun.
Do you think this is a prompt towards any future work that you're going to do? Or is this more of, are you winding down inflatables?
I mean, I like doing inflatables. I like making things. We were having this discussion, Wes and I, yesterday, and we were talking about how you work in the studio. The short answer is there's no right way to work in the studio. Everybody is different. The only thing that we all have in common, we have to breathe, we have to eat, we have to do all those body functions. But other than that, we're all unique snowflakes. And so one of the ways I work in a studio is by not. I really don't work in a studio at all. I work when I have a commission or a project like this. But that's kind of like not true. I'm just always making stuff. So I always want to make, you know, a new AI video, or I always want, let's make a new video game, or let's all go do this. And so I think this is right in line with, it was really fun to be forced back into the studio. I remember texting a painter friend of mine, and I was like, I'm up here, I'm making this stuff, and you know, I was like, it's like really good podcast work, because if I don't have to figure out, you know, how to run a script or how to automate something or how to make an infrared camera work, then I can actually listen to a podcast and just like groove with the sewing machine. So that was, and did I sew anything wrong? I don't think I sewed anything.
Not this time.
I don't think I made a mistake while sewing. I mean, I always tell my students when I teach sewing, and so when they make a mistake, I just come over there and I go, I just start seam ripping their thing, like, what are you doing? Well, we're gonna have to do it again. And so I just start doing it, and they're like, and they're just sewing, and I'm like, I'm just here for moral support. And I always tell the stories like, at least it wasn't a 30-foot seam that you just seam ripped and then you sewed wrong again. And I say, when that happens, you just throw your scissors across the room and you come back the next day. So, but right now we're still going. Like, let's go. This is good news. So, no mistakes. So it's a real good group. But so I think the creative process is like always be excited about making and doing things. I mean, you're probably surrounded by artists and makers right now, and so you all know this. And so that's kind of how I approach this work. And is it a catalyst? Yeah, it's just like in the continuum of the river. Like, let's go make a new thing like tomorrow, right?
Yeah, and teaching is really important. You teach at Cleveland Institute of Art, and the student dialogue fuels these discussions.
Yeah, Mimi's an educator too. She teaches at Oberlin College.
Yes.
And we always talk about students, and it's like I don't use a table saw in my work a lot, but I teach how to use table saws and welding and all that stuff. And it's like the way another colleague of mine, we talk about it, it's like running laps. So when you got to use the table saw in your own work, you're like, what is that again? Do I need to get no? You're just like, I'm in the groove. Like I could just I made a bunch of turtles with the table saw this fall. Students like to make turtles and things, but like when I don't want to make a turtle, I want to work on something that's for my project. I can go in there and I'm ready to go. And so I think that's a good relationship of working with students, and I'm sure there's many educators in the room as well that know that dialogue.
Yeah. And so Twinkle Twinkle Orchestra is sort of 5 or 6 years in the making. It's been like the fruit of all of that time to get here. And
all my gray hairs, yes.
Finished somewhat recently. Do you think you'll make more in this series, or what do you see coming next in the next year or two?
I have no idea, but there has been one video I've been wanting to make for past 5 years, which will be, Jimmy always disagree because he's as you can tell, he's like, just do. But for me, it's like, I need to get ready and I have to get prepared. So I can't start yet. But I'm kind of waiting for AI to come to the point that I don't need to shoot. But I was talking about Jimmy about that, and he said, well, by the time everybody can make it, then nobody is going to watch your video. But I still want to make it. But yeah, there's a video I want to make.
You gotta tell what it is. There's chainsaws and fire and old women and forests. Like what? Worshipping pine cones. There's like.
Yes, there's a bunch of office lady wearing a uniform that's coming from my previous work, the Japanese uniform. A lot of companies still wear it, for the only the women, it's a tight vest and a tight skirt. It's not a really comfortable wear, but a company CEO decide what women wear. So it was kind of like a comment to like, you know, kind of wanted to give freedom to these women. So in my video, they were kind of like oppressed and they are very wearing this uniform and kind of being weak. But what they're doing is they're growing this pine cone, giving everything meaning, like they are watering with their spit and they are planting the pine cone in their hair and it's growing. But in the end, they're gonna get old with all the white hair, but they're gonna cut this pine as a tree very violently, and then they're gonna burn it, and they're gonna burn their uniform, and they're gonna cut their hair, and then they're just gonna disappear. But it's very, plot is not ready, so I can't really talk about it yet. Thank you. It's still work in process, so maybe that doesn't make sense.
Very intriguing.
Yeah.
Well, unless there's something you all want to say, I'd like to hand mics out, so to speak, to folks who joined us. Are there questions for Mimi or Jimmy, or both?
Are you a college professor? Or like, how do you teach sewing?
At college, yes. Yeah.
You're a college professor? You're a professor?
Yes. Yeah. The Cleveland Institute of Art. So we teach the sewing and fabrication. But I teach anyone sewing real quick. You know, it's like.
You will?
Yeah, I just show you like, you know, like that, and I, you know, how to thread the machine, like do this, like it's like the toilet paper roll, and I try to make my hand like the little thing in the manual, like this. Hold your bobbin like this, like put it in there, and then I'll put it, and I'll say, look, now it's ready to sew, and then I'll take all the thread out, and then now you do it, and then eventually, like, do that 3 or 4 times, and then you're sewing.
Do you teach hand sewing?
No. I take hand needles away from students. So you see, you see, if you catch a student hand sewing, and they always do, they'll always like sneak off from the room, and they'll be like, and I'm like, what are you doing? You're never gonna get done. They're like, well, you know, I like, no, you don't like that, and you just got intimidated by the machine, and come back over here, and just sew in the machine. I mean, there's a time and a place for hand sewing. Like you can do it like a hand sewn buttonhole is gorgeous, but it also takes a lot of practice, and it's so slow. Like, what are we making stuff, or are we hand sewing? I learned how to hand sew myself when I taught myself sewing in college. I wanted tight pants, so I put my pants on inside out and stapled them as tight as I could, and take them off and try to sew it. And then I was sewing when I was in Japan, and I was hand sewing a suit. This like bright lame yellow suit, and I was taking Japanese lessons. And if anyone's taken a foreign language lesson, it's like, what did you do today? I went to the library, and then I had to go to the bathroom, and I wanted to go to the supermarket to buy ham, right? Like that's the words you know. So I said, I'm sewing a suit, and then my teacher said, you're what? I said, well, I'm so, you know, and I had to we had to look up all the words, like with a little like translator thing, and eventually, long story short, she said, you know, I have a sewing machine. And so I got told the same thing. So my tutor gave me a sewing machine. I finished the suit. So you can do it. You can pick it up and make a lot of some mistakes, and send me an email sometime. I'll show you some sewing resources.
Cool.
Yeah, he has a double needle sewing machine, so it's really fast. Yeah.
Yeah, again, even faster. Yeah, the double needle, double bobbin. So like all the things like the stitch on your jeans on this side, that's what that does.
It sounds something that you've been working solely since this project, or has it been something that you worked with before?
The sound?
Yeah.
I never worked with sound. So it was kind of like, I don't know if it's gonna work out, and if it doesn't work out, I just feel bad for Brian, but I just gonna do it. But I took a music lesson. I play piano when I was little, but that's it. So it was kind of like try, and then it doesn't go together, and then try different things, and then it just take time, and then sit through with the sound and just really figure out.
And for the project, did the video precede the sound, or the sound precede the video?
It just came at the same time.
At the same time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for you, when did the inflatable, you said 2016 is when inflatable.
2006 of all times.
2006.
So I was making a lot of bicycles, like huge bicycles and things, and then I was doing a lot of video work, like stacks of televisions and hidden security cameras and all this stuff. And I just remember going to shows, I was like, man, these bicycles are heavy. all these TVs. I remember I was driving from San Antonio to Houston with like 40 CRT televisions in a trailer, and one fell off on the highway. Remember that? And I was like, whoa, gee, we lost one. And I was like, oh my God, we did not like kill someone, and let's keep going. And we made it. And so it's just a lot of work. And then I was like, well, I could like make something. How can I make something big? Do you know Gene Tingley, Swiss artist?
Yeah.
So he had this like, he made this big phallus in New York, and then lit it on fire. And I was having this show. We were having a show together. That's right. This is the third one. We were having a show together, and you could see the house from the highway, and I wanted to make this huge inflatable phallus. And looking back, I didn't even know how to 3D model, because I was calling my physics friend, and I was like, I don't know how to do this. Like, I don't even know how to make, like, I would just want to go grab that kid by the neck and say, this is how you would have done that. But I couldn't do it. And so the long story short, but it gave me the idea of making an inflatable. So I made this inflatable suit, and that was the first inflatable suit.
His plan was he wanted to make a suit that will lift him up with all the pressure of the air.
And make me stuck, yeah.
But he couldn't do it.
And that was the next thing I tried to do, but I couldn't do that. And it was a total failure, which most of my projects are. And that got me into inflatables, and I wanted them to be lightweight and big. So then I started making these suits so I could put in a backpack and like literally show up. And now I'm like back to trucks and shipping crates and all that kind of stuff. So
he was like participating to like a small town parade for some holidays, and then everybody, when people read like this number something and this is a flow explanation, he just jumping. So they were so confused. I don't know what it is. Like, yeah, you remember that?
Yeah, that was in Michigan.
Yeah, and then nobody asked, but like suddenly like some police officer come to protect him from the traffic. Like when he appears, those like, yeah.
Oh yeah, so that's what that works. So I made this inflatable suit, and then it became these performances because, the art world, you gotta like have curators call you and all this stuff. It's like a big thing. It's like, and you have no control. So I always thought, well, I want to be my own gatekeeper. So I would send out press releases of what I was doing, and I found out the magic word was performance artists on tour, and you could just list as many cities as you wanted. Yeah. Like you could just like, well, one day I will be there, and then I'd be on all these newspaper articles and morning shows on TV and say, oh, so you're going to Dallas? I'm like, yes, I am going to Dallas, and then I would go perform out there, and like I don't need a museum curator to let me walk down Michigan Avenue, and there was like this spontaneous emergent human behavior of people helping. Yeah. Like everyone thought it was like, oh, this person obviously needs help, and lots of people would help direct that, and it was kind of fun.
Yeah, you didn't get any permission, but like seriously, police officer came to like protect him from the traffic. That was funny.
Yeah, like, many instances like that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so I really like what you said about absurdity in the work. Like, I think that's like really apparent, especially with how like sort of alien it feels in the space. But then also, I think with your video, I was wondering if you sort of take like a delightful absurdity with the everyday, because your video feels so familiar in a way, but also new. So what is your take on absurdity?
You don't understand the question. I'm sorry. What is absurdity?
Absurdity.
Absurdity. Oh.
Absurdity with the familiar.
Absurdity with the familiar. What does it mean?
Well, absurd means silly and nonsensical. So I don't want to put words in your mouth, but like you are making music with like a sous vide machine and a breast pump.
Yes.
So that's kind of absurd.
I don't know. I was that serious making this music with, like, I didn't really think it's absurdity, but I was just having really fun to find all the different tones and the things the sound make. Yeah.
Mimi's not joking. She's dead serious mostly all the time. I mean, she likes to joke and stuff. So like, but she undersells the absurdity. So with her previous work, she performs. I mean, like in all costumes, wigs, outfits, and I help her do that by shooting off. And so I'm sitting there like, are we like how many shots are we doing? Like 30? Like, oh, I think we got it. And she's like, again, I got it. And one time I'm like duct taping her because she wants to be a captive person. So she says like tight, like I got to be duct taped. And so it's like duct taping, and I'm like, I think, but she's trying to be falling, like, because she wants the other character, which would be her to be clear, these are all her, so she's making these big montages of all the characters acting out things, and so another character is kicking her in the back, and so she keeps trying to like fall down, and I'm trying to capture her with a strobe light, except she's really duct taped. And so but she's being serious about it, and then one more time, she's like, one more, and then she goes too far, but she's duct taped, but her feet are out from under her, so she's going down hard. So she went down hard, and you were on the ground for a while. You knocked the wind out of yourself, bruised your ribs. Yes.
Yeah.
And so but what that anecdote is for is that she's very serious, but also it's like, that's not serious at all. That's like totally absurd. And so I think that's wherever Wes went, I think that's a good, of the everyday, like you are doing absurd things. Like there's no reason to do that.
I mean, I live with you, so. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So I think so.
You both are all in your work. No holding back. All right. Last call for questions. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for
Thank you,
coming.
everyone.
Nice to work.
Thank you. Thank you so much.